I'm really pleased to be joined by Bardhyl Jashari from Metamorphosis in North Macedonia. Bardhyl, thanks for joining us on Zooming In on Hate.
Thank you for this opportunity.
So let me go straight to the question about the current situation in North Macedonia. Can you tell us what's happening in and around disinformation?
North Macedonia is at the moment at an epicenter of a large wave of disinformation campaigns that are targeting our society on different levels, and different topics. I said a wave because it's really coming into wave. It's never stopped. We always have been the target of disinformation campaign, and specifically foreign malign influence that are trying to affect our society in a way that we will backslide from democracy and our European perspective. And at every time when we have an important event, for example, I don't know, we are supposed to join NATO and we did it, then the disinformation campaign intensify. When we start discussing about joining the EU and what are the reforms we should do, the disinformation campaign really targeting this. And the way they do it, they do not go directly to say, I don't know, NATO is bad, EU is bad. Of course, there is that as well, but they will just choose topics that would indirectly imply that the EU will be a bad thing for the Macedonian society. For example, they will speak about the relations, the identity of Macedonia, the relations with Greece. They will speak about the relations with Bulgaria. They will speak about the relation with Albanians and Albania, etc. And they will put it into a context in a very subtle way, just to let people think on their own that EU is bad news for our country. And unfortunately, they've been somehow successful. The reason why I'm saying this is that although we joined NATO, that's a big plus, the support for EU is in decline, and Euroscepticism is on the rise. And people do not trust EU anymore, and they do not trust in this European vision of the country. And this is all the result, not all, it's in big part the result of these disinformation campaigns, and of course our corrupted government, unfortunately, and incapable sometimes to deal with important issues in a more efficient way and in a more transparent way, and communicate everything strategically with the people, so that the impact of disinformation is diminished. We cannot, of course, solve all the issues with disinformation, but what we can do is diminish their negative impact. And that's what we're trying to do as a Metamorphosis Foundation. We started in 2011 to deal with disinformation when at that time it was not trendy. Well, it's not the appropriate word, but it was not as popular as it is now. But it was then we noticed that there are a lot of disinformation and propaganda in our media, and there were a lot of inaccurate information. And since we are an organization that tried to bring citizens into a dialogue with state institutions and improve citizen participation so that they can shape policies, we notice it's impossible to do that if citizens do not have the correct, accurate and timely information. And that's how we started to deal with disinformation, so that we bring more accurate and information to the citizens, to the NGOs, so that they can meaningfully participate in a dialogue with state institutions. So the situation is bad, and unfortunately, but the good side is that nowadays people are aware of those disinformation campaigns. They are aware that the media and the internet and social media are used to spread disinformation, which was not the case 10, 15 years ago. There are some initiatives in which Metamorphosis is directly involved, where we advocate that we have a whole society approach to deal with disinformation, so that institutions, together with NGOs, with the media, with the businesses, but also the academia. We work together in order to, again, to create a resilient society so that we diminish the negative effect of disinformation. The way the disinformation campaigns are affecting our society is also it's not only to create distrust and do not trust the EU, do not trust the government, do not trust politicians, do not trust the media, do not trust civil society organizations. It's also that they use existing divides within the society, which are based on ethnicity and religion, political affiliation, and they deepen them. And of course, there are a lot of, unfortunately, hate speech, and this is causing even more problem because sometimes we are at the brink of violence because of those disinformation, and this makes our work even more important, but also, let's say, more challenging.
And that leads me nicely to the next question about the link between disinformation and hate speech. So it sounds like disinformation campaigns have been really successful in a negative way in North Macedonia. Has it worked just as well in exacerbating tensions between different groups and an increase in hate speech?
Yes. Hate speech has always been present in North Macedonia, unfortunately, and with disinformation, they have just been, let's say, amplified. Their effect was amplified, and especially because they were used for not only to, as I said, to create distrust towards some political goals that our country have, for example, just like joining the EU and NATO, but to create instability. And this instability is causing a lot of issues because around some strategic processes, we need to have a critical mass of people that are in favor. And by sowing this divide, by fragmentizing our society, I even say not fragmented because it's not just, a lot of people say polarizing. I say fragmentizing, I even say now atomizing, where they are really, those disinformation campaigns are now really making everyone in their own small world, which makes it difficult to bring them together and move the whole society forward around a specific vision, like joining the EU. And hate speech is a very big problem because especially between political parties that represent Macedonians and Albanians, and how Albanians are represented in the society and in the state institutions. They are using every opportunity to put it in a way that it's not a political issue, and they create hate. That there are disinformation that say, okay, the Albanians do not pay their bills, and then there are disinformation targeting Albanians saying that the Macedonians have an easy life, everything is for them easy, and this is it's easy to manipulate when we have a poor country, unfortunately, and it's always easy to, with those disinformation campaigns, to sow hate and blame the other, and that's what they are doing. And every time that there is something important happening, this intensifies, and interethnic relations and hate based on ethnicity is on the rise.
It's on the top. And are there initiatives between civil society or media to investigate the foreign malign forces that you're mentioning that are disrupting your democracy and society in North Macedonia? Or are there the resources there to do that?
Yes, there are several projects that are implemented in Macedonia that are doing exactly this. For example, Metamorphosis Foundation is leading a network of fact-checking organization in the Balkans. We call it the Anti-Disinformation Network, where we do mapping of the actors. So we see the disinformation ecosystem to see who are the media that are spreading disinformation, who produce disinformation, not only media, but also we see organization, we see proxy media, proxy journalists, politicians, etc. And what we try to do is, first we do a lot of debunking. So this is an important part of the things that NGOs do, not only Metamorphosis, but also other in the region. The second part is pre-bunking, so we anticipate, we analyze what is happening, we anticipate some trends, and we say this might be an issue that will be used by those malign actors to create problems. And then we do some pre-bunking as well, which is also very effective sometimes when we identify correctly the topics that will be, I say, exploited for bad. And in parallel, we do also a lot of advocacy so that there is some kind of self-regulation or even regulation in some country maybe, so that we are all together in this fight against disinformation. And I believe that although we can say that disinformation campaigns have a bad effect in our region, I think that with time, especially with people understanding how disinformation work, how they manipulate, and especially among these decision makers, I think that now we see a raised awareness about this, and people are trying to learn more. We are far from having achieved what we want, especially because in our region media literacy is in a very, very low level, and this is one of the big issue that we have. It's an issue also because there are a lot of media literacy projects at the moment, but we can expect the results of this effort in a long term, I don't know, in maybe 5 or 10 years, but there are a lot of things happening now. So that's why it's important to deal immediately with disinformation campaigns at the moment, while at the same time working on improving media literacy. And what we do as an organization, which we think is also very important in combating disinformation, but also countering hate speech, is to improve critical thinking skills, and along with media literacy. But we also add digital literacy, and which is, let's say, something that it's also very important, because cybersecurity is also important, and it's all interconnected. We cannot just say media literacy or just countering hate speech or just digital skills. It's, I don't know, in order to navigate this complex world, this digital world today, there are a lot of skills that are, let's say, the basics in order to function normally and not to be influenced in a bad way and manipulated, in order for us to make decisions that are not bad for us.
And it sounds like the situation is quite challenging for civil society and media in North Macedonia. Are they teaming up? Is the perception of their work improving?
So for a long time, civil society organizations were targeted by a campaign against civil society organization, trying to portray civil society organization, human rights activists as foreign spies, as people working for the West and trying to harm our country, and not only in Macedonia but also in the region. So the image of civil society organization was badly damaged, and it's people do not understand what civil society organizations do. They do not understand the role of civil society organization and how important it is to have a civil society organization. And this makes our work even more difficult, because this is the first layer of distrust that we have to pass in order to do something in different communities that we are trying to work with. And so in every project, in every initiative that we do, we always have this in mind, and we say that we have to, together with the media, we have to reaffirm our role in the society. And reaffirming means to really put forward the positive things, the vital, essential things that civil society organization, media doing in a democratic society, and what would the society look like without them? Because a lot of people take things for granted. They take democracy for granted. They say, I'm pro-democracy. It's like a religion. I believe in democracy. And I say it's not, I believe in democracy. It's not a religion. We have to work for democracy. And in order to work, we have to be educated, to act, to be responsible. And this is, let's say, the first layer of everything that we do. And yes, we are trying to team up with media. We have, even Metamorphosis, we have our own media outlets because one in Macedonia, Meta, we have Portal.mk in Albanian, and we have Vistinomero Truth Meter, which is a fact-checking outlet. And then we have created also a network of local media throughout the country that we use to disseminate our content and also to reach to various audiences outside of our, let's say, bubble in Skopje, and outside of the bubble created by algorithms as well.
That lovely segue to my next question. We wanted to talk to you about artificial intelligence. And do you see a role for artificial intelligence in helping you navigate the problems of disinformation and hate speech in North Macedonia? Is anybody working on it? What are your plans?
Yeah, we see a very important role for AI, and we are trying now to experiment. We're starting an initiative to first to identify some patterns and some words that are used when disseminating hate speech, and to use AI to identify and to mark these contents in social media for now. This is for us especially important because we are a partner of Facebook to countering disinformation in our country. So we already have access to some of the more viral contents in the country. So then we will just try to use AI to see how much hate speech are in those viral content, because it's not only disinformation, very often it's full of hate speech. And this is something separately of our disinformation efforts that we do with our partners. So yeah, it will help us be more efficient, because if we identify correctly the patterns, but also we work so that the AI also propose some patterns that itself the AI tool would identify, then I think it will help us make our work more easy and flag this content as soon as it appears. But this is something that we are just starting. We don't know how it will go, because one of our problems we face is that we don't have the technical skills within the organization. Also, I'm an IT expert myself, but not in AI. And people who have the knowledge, they are very expensive for NGOs. They are all working in the private sector. So this is another challenge that we have. But I am positive that in cooperation with academia, we will find some people that would willingly allocate their time to this cause.
Well, it's great news for us to hear you say that, because it's a drum we keep beating that, you know, the problem for civil society organizations is so overwhelming. There's so much hate, there's so much disinformation, it's coming from so many angles that it's so important to harness AI for good to help us with this problem. And I think there's been a real reluctance within civil society, probably a lot of distrust, or, as you say, challenges about the financial side of things that put them off working with AI. So it's great news that you're embracing it at Metamorphosis.
Another thing is that there is also this tendency to spread technophobia, to say, no, AI is bad, 5G is bad, this is bad, social networks are bad. And this is something also at Metamorphosis we try to counter, because we say that it's like every tool, if you can use a knife for bad things, you can use a knife for good things. Same with AI, same with any technology. What we have to do and what we try to do is to educate really to people how to responsibly use a tool. So AI will be as good as we are good and we know how to use it. And we have to make sure that we will not slip into some kind of dystopian scenario where AI takes over the world, etc. And in order to do that, we have to not just say it's bad, but we have to really engage and work to create a framework where AI will serve us. And this is our responsibility as an NGO, as people, and yeah.
Brilliant. Oh no, great to hear that, and great to speak to you about it. We've talked a lot about the challenges for North Macedonia in around hate speech and disinformation. Where are the positives? Where do you see hope? Where things are improving, things are changing? You've said you can see a slight improvement in the perception of civil society and media. What other green shoots? And if there are CSOs who are listening in from North Macedonia or from the Balkan region, what would you recommend is the most important thing to make the situation more positive and more constructive?
Yeah, related to the positive part is that people now are, as I said, aware of the negative effects that disinformation can have. The second thing, which is also a positive, is that now disinformation is not treated purely as a media problem, as a problem of media professionalism. Everyone is, not everyone, but a larger number of people, and especially decision makers, but also among civil society organizations, understand that disinformation is a security issue. And that's why it's not only something that NGOs or only media should deal with. We have to do it together. And another thing that it's starting to happen, but it's not at the moment in a scale that we would like, is that to have this expertise within each NGO, meaning that if I'm an NGO dealing with the environment, there are disinformation that are related to the environment. There is no climate, disinformation related to climate change, etc. There is no global warming, etc. And the expertise that, for example, a disinformation working in the field of environment or protecting the environment is crucial in order to make debunking those narratives more credible. Because it's not Bardhyl, a fact checker for Metamorphosis, or another journalist. It's an expert in environment that is talking about global warming and the environment. Same can be done in, NGOs working in health. For example, there were a lot of disinformation related to COVID. And so many other, or we were speaking about hate speech earlier, and how also, and human rights, etc. There are a lot of disinformation. So human rights organizations who have the expertise in this should have also another set of skills that is related to disinformation, so that they can, if not do it themselves, help us, help fact checkers and media organizations deal more effectively to counter those narratives, using their expertise and their credibility in the field.
Absolutely. I mean, we're seeing that at the European Observatory of Online Hate as well. The intersectionality of hate is mirrored in the intersectionality of disinformation. There's nothing that can't be touched, whether it's climate change, COVID. It touches on all topics. Yes. And suddenly, exactly as you say, we have to become experts on all these topics, as well as disinformation. Yes. It needs to be a two-way street between those specialist NGOs and hate speech and disinformation NGOs. I'd like you mentioned the EU, and of course the big development in the EU in 2024 is the coming in of the Digital Services Act. I know North Macedonia is not a member, but are you seeing any impact of the DSA in North Macedonia? Is Is it rippling?
So yes, we are not part of the EU, but nonetheless, for us, it's important that our regulatory framework is prepared for DCA, especially because it's very important. We already use Facebook and X and other large social media platforms or large search engines like Google, etc. It's not something that will come when DSA will come. It's already here, although we are not part of the EU. So what we have done with partners from the region, we already analyzed the legal framework and the institutional framework within each of the country, and I will share with you the report later, and how DSA can be implemented so that we now have some kind of assessment of what will be the first direct effect in each of the country, and we will start to advocate to align our legislation in compliance with DSA. This is an experience that we had in the past with the GDPR, and we did it, and it was a very positive example, which also prepared our country for so many things that came with the digitalization, and we hope to do the same with DSA, especially, as I said, because we are already part of these social networks, and we have to prepare our regulations as well so that we hold big platforms accountable, especially because we are all using them.
Brilliant, makes complete sense. And so do you feel that there's a sense of optimism about the DSA having a positive impact on North Macedonia? Yes,
I think that it will be positive, but it will depend how it will be implemented, especially because there are plans to have a digital agency responsible in each of the country. It depends how it will be created, who will be represented, how well NGOs will be represented. So it requires engagement from the civil society organization, and it's something that should not be, let's say, let only for the government to do. We have to really have a say in this, so that it is implemented in a way that is mindful of the priorities and the needs of civil society organization. But when I say this, I mean mindful of human rights, mindful of privacy, human integrity as well, which is very often forgotten by state institutions. That's why I expect positive things, but this will all depend on how it will be implemented.
Bardhyl Jashari, thank you so much for joining us on Zooming In on Hate.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to share my experience.